Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about Supergirl, the Legion of Superheroes. So this was actually a pretty good movie. It was very enjoyable and everything. And that's all for me to say because this is a Tomorrowverse movie, and I am still not a fan of the Tomorrowverse. I hate the animation. I hate how it feels more like a live action theatrical movie instead of an animated movie because like I don't mind if animation takes a more serious route. I don't mind if they have a little edginess to them. But at the end of the day, it still needs to feel like an animation movie and not a live action movie because it just feels off. It's kind of like when you would have like a live action movie and it's so slapsticky silly and it feels like a cartoon. Like a good example of this is say like some seasons of Power Rangers. Not every season, but some, like Turbo or Ninja Steel. It feels like it's a cartoon, silly, goofy thing, you know? But it's live action and it just feels off. And that's how the Tomorrowverse always felt to me. It feels like it should be a live action CW show or like a live action movie or something like that. And you know, the whole Tomorrowverse is its own connected, like, you know, universe. And they're like, you know, trying to do like the whole new 52 thing they did a while back. Also, some of the voice cast I do not like in the Tomorrowverse. And so I just haven't been able to connect, and I haven't bought none of the DVDs. But for the most part, this movie was actually like enjoyable and stuff. It's not great, like it's not perfect, but it's not terrible, and it's not jarring that much. I will say though that the best parts I loved about this was the first half, like from the beginning on to the end of like the fight between Supergirl and Brainiac 5. Towards somewhere in the middle, it started to slow down with all the school stuff. And I'm just like, I don't want to watch school stuff in an animated movie. But then it started picking back up once you found out the climax and the main villain and you know, stuff like that. But there are some things that are kind of just like, I don't know, because the animation is still the same. It no longer looks like that Flash animation, but the movement when they fight is kind of like, it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like traditional animation. I still don't like the style look of it, like, you know, how it looks like it came out of a comic book. I wish they would stop that. And like my biggest criticism of this movie is two things. One, the Legion of Superheroes are just literally there. Like that's it. They got crammed into this movie for whatever reason, and there isn't much development for most of the characters. The only real one who gets development is like Brainiac 5. That's literally it. And that's only because he's a love interest and stuff. And Mon-El, he doesn't really have character development, but he actually gets stuff to do. But he's a generic villain. Like I couldn't believe they did that crap. And like, so that's like my main, like real main gripe is like, you know, the Legion are literally just like there. And I don't understand why they didn't have much to do because like there used to be a Legion of Superheroes cartoon, and it was pretty cool. And how can they have so much development with like those characters in just like say one episode, but they can't do it in a 90 something minute movie? My other and I mean major criticism of this movie is that we've seen it before. Like they pulled this same crap on the Green Lantern animated movie that came out last year. What do I mean by that? Well, was it last year or this year? Anyway, simply put, that like, okay, you have a hero who just learned these new abilities and these new powers and stuff. They have to go far away to learn how to use these powers. And they're accompanied by like a superhero group. And it turns out that like, oh, one of the enemies is an actual hero from the comics that everybody likes who just turns evil for whatever reason And you know, they have to stop that like bad guy and probably like somebody another major bad guy, and that's it. Like this is literally what happened in the Green Lantern movie. Like with the whole like Hal Jordan turning out to be evil in real life. Mon-El, who is a hero and somebody people like mostly from like the Supergirl show, is the sleeper agent like evil dude and everything. And it's just like, what? So he betrays everybody and it just comes out of the blue. There's no setup. Like there's no setup whatsoever. It literally just comes out of the blue. And it's like, why? He's a hero and stuff. Why they keep turning all these heroes into villains? And it even goes back further than that. It goes back to Green Lantern First Flight. Like we knew Sinestro was gonna be evil, like duh. You know what I'm saying? But Boudica, like I was shocked when she turned evil. Like that just came out of the blue, kinda. Like when she said interesting, when she found out Hal took down Sinestro all by herself, or he took down somebody all by himself. She was all like, interesting. And that was kind of like why did she say it like that? And then when she did turn evil, then it's like, oh crap, dude, like I wasn't expecting that. But here, and also I didn't know who she was, so but I knew she was a Green Lantern, but still. But here, like with the whole Hal and Mon-El thing, it's just weird that they turned villainous for no apparent reason. Now I will say the voice cast is really good. This is the first time I felt bad for saying this, Lord Jesus, I'm gonna feel bad for saying this, but it's the truth. This is the first time I've ever like Megan Delaney in like a role. She was a great Supergirl when she did like voice acting. I've never been a fan of her live action. I've seen her for 5 years on American Housewife, and I could never connect with her acting. Only when she spazzes out and like shouts at people. That's when she was really good in live action. When she gets started on Bunked, I didn't like that. She was just on the now canceled Winchesters. And with that, it's like I tried to watch the first episode. I just couldn't do it. Like I watched the trailer. The trailer looked cool because I've never seen Supernatural. I've never seen not one episode of it. So I'm like, man, I missed out. But then I heard they were making the prequel. So I checked out the trailer. The trailer was cool. Then I watched the first episode. I'm just like, what the heck is this? So I like turned it off and everything. And I never went back. And so I've never been a fan of her in live action, but she's really good here in like voice acting. Like the best part is when Supergirl tries to like save people in the beginning of the movie, and she's arguing with this one random civilian who's all like, you tore up like my building and everything. You tore up half the town. You're like reckless. And she's just like shouting with him and arguing with him. And I love that moment. It's such a Supergirl thing to do. And she, like I said before, she's really good when she spazzes out and shouts at people in live action and shows and stuff. And it was just like really cool there. So yeah, I really, really like that. Now, the romance between her and Brainiac, I like how it was built up. They first met. She didn't trust him. She attacked him out of the blue. And, like, he had to defend himself. And he's very arrogant because he's, I think a 10th or 5th level, like, intellect. And, like, you know, he's really super arrogant in this movie because he thinks he's the smartest person in the world. And so their budding romance like was really built up, and it took its time. So I really enjoyed that. I wish they would have just gave her her own solo movie. That would have been so much better. I will say that like besides like Nicole Tom, she's probably one of my like favorite animated Supergirl voices and Supergirl characters. I like the one in Batman, Superman, I think Apocalypse it was called, that really old animated movie that came out back in the day. I like that version of Supergirl. The only problem is she was never really Supergirl. She was just Kara. like the entire movie, and she didn't become Supergirl until the very, very, very end of the movie, just to fly around the screen. I'm just like, nah, man, you can't do that. You need her in the costume and stuff. And it was her new redesigned costume with the blue skirt and stuff. As for I think it was called Superman Brainiac or something like that. Superman Bound, Brainiac, Unbound. It was the movie with Matt Bomer in it. That Supergirl I didn't really like because she was in the movie, but we really didn't get to know her all that well. Cause it mostly focused around Brainiac and Superman. Plus, I don't know if I really like that movie anymore. Like I do and I don't, and I own it on DVD, so I really have to like it. If not, I'm just gonna toss it. I don't know. It's just weird. Superman is very arrogant in that movie and stuff. And even though Matt Bomer looks like Superman and should play Superman live action, his voice is too deep and it doesn't sound like a Supermanish type voice, you know? And so, like, also when it comes to like this movie, before I go into detail of what it's about, Triplet Girl, I did not like her whatsoever. I'm glad they race bent her. They also race bent Lightning Lad, but Lightning Lad doesn't have much to do in this movie. But Triplet Girl and Invisible Boy, their personalities got on my nerves. They was too slap happy and everything. And they really don't do much. Plus, Triplet Girl was weird in this movie. Like, she went through the first half of the movie not saying a word. Then, when this mysterious person, see, at first we thought somebody killed the entirety of Triplet Girl because she was literally gruesomely murdered, and it turns out to be Mon-El with his heat vision. And so, like, she died. But then all of a sudden, when Supergirl, like, you know, gets rescued by like the Legion, what are they called? Like, not necessarily recruits, but well, I guess kind of recruits, like the rookies who are trying to be like, you know, the Legion people who are trying out the tryout people. It turns out, oh wait, she's alive, but now there's two of them, and that's because, you know, when one triplet dies, the other two are still able to live, and so now she's Duplicate Girl. And this has happened before on the Legion of Superheroes cartoon, but it was done so much better. There, that character mourned the loss of her fallen sister. Here, you see no grief, you see no mourn. She's still her slap happy person, but she's all like, yeah, let me find Mon-El because I gotta kill Mon-El. Nobody else touch him because he's mine. But she does it in such a slap happy kind of way, you can't take it seriously. Like, you really, really, really can't. And it's just like, dude, you just lost your triplet. Like, you lost like another part of yourself, and you're not even sad or grieving. You're just slap happy. And then when she finally gets the final blow on him in the fight, because she picks up like this laser gun, she shoots him off screen. It's all like, did she even shoot him or not? Because it's never shown. She just points the rifle at him, but she never pulls the trigger. Then it finds out, like later on in the movie, that she shot him over, and over again, but we never got to see it. And that's actually another gripe I'm having with this movie. Doing the fight scenes between, it was Supergirl and somebody. I forget who it was. I think it was Supergirl and maybe Mon-El or something, or maybe Brainiac. You never saw nobody hit nobody, and that was so weird. Like, you see them, like, you know, hold their fist up, getting ready to charge and hit somebody close up, and then far away you'll see that person, the impact of the hit, flying away, but you never actually saw them make contact with the person's skin. And I'm all like, why is that? Are they trying to shy away from violence now? Because the new 52 movies were gruesome, and I mean, they were gruesome with their fight scenes and stuff, and very bloody. But then I'm all like, well, maybe because they didn't want to show a man hitting a woman. But then why didn't they want to show the woman hit a man? So that's just kind of weird. So I don't understand what's going on with the action and stuff. And the action isn't really all that desirable. Like, the best fight scene is probably Supergirl and Brainiac. And the ending fight scene is pretty cool. But other than that, it's just, I don't know, the action's weird now. And it's probably because they can't do action as good as they used to more with this new art style. Because when Triplet Girl was fighting somebody, her hands just were going like everywhere, like really fast. And it was really weird looking. Like the animation seemed like something somebody would do like in Photoshop or Flash on YouTube or something. And the animation needs to change. It is the biggest downfall of the Tomorrowverse, in my opinion. It just looks weird and flat. It literally looks like you drew it by hand in a comic book, cut the piece out, and put it in something like a movie and just had them moving around. It's so flat looking. But basically what this is, we see like the movie's about Supergirl living in on Krypton. And so Krypton explodes and she gets sent to like Earth. We get to see her and her mom hang out, which is nice because we rarely get to see her and her parents. And so it's heartbreaking, you know what I'm saying? She had to leave, like she just had a good like jog with her mom and had a good time. And then all of a sudden, boom, it's about to explode. And so then we see that, and we don't really see her land on Earth. It just jumps forward a couple of months. And we see her walking down Metropolis. And what's weird is this. Now, on Krypton, all you have to say is, computer, make me a bench. And a holographic bench will come up. She goes to the mall, and she don't know how to navigate around the mall. So she sees the mall map. And so she's touching it like a flat screen, but it's not working. Then she's trying to give it verbal commands and it's not working. And my problem with that is it would have been okay if she had just arrived on Earth, but it's been stated she's been there for at least a couple of months, anywhere between 5 to 8. So between 5 to 8 months, you wouldn't know by now that the map in the mall isn't a touchscreen and it's not verbally commanded. So why is she acting like she don't know nothing? And so that's just really weird and jarring. So the writing let that part down. Also, her look is weird. She looks like a white ghetto country girl. Baggy clothes, a cap, these pigtail braids and everything. And like her glasses make them look like sunglasses. So she just has like this ghetto vibe to her, which is just weird and everything. And so, she takes down, like, a bad guy. She takes down Solomon Grundy. At least she tries. And the Justice League comes in. Superman and Batman, they come in. And of course, Batman doesn't like her. He's all like, she's reckless. She tore up half the town. Blah, 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 blah. Superman does not like what Batman is saying about his cousin. And one problem I'm having with Superman and Supergirl is that Superman looks so young in the Tomorrowverse. I believe he was in college when his movie came out. So if she's a teenager and he's in his 20s, they don't look that far apart as opposed to the grown 30, 40 something year old man and the teenage little girl. And so it just looks weird because they look on par with each other. Now, one part that's very confusing is that when Batman took the rifle from Solomon Grundy, he knew Solomon Grundy did not make this very highly sophisticated rifle, and it looks futuristic. And the thing about it is that it has a red crystal in like the chamber, like, where you load it at. And so when I saw the red crystal, I'm like, is that red kryptonite? Is this why both Supergirl and Superman were acting very mean and everything? But it's never been explained. And then so it cuts from that into Superman and Kara on like the farm. And oh, by the way, Flash is voiced by Matt Bomer in this. And of course, he was Superman in the other animated movie years ago. And he's also, well, soon to be no longer, the negative man on Doom Patrol. And so like Batman's trying to figure out, where he got this. And there are 3 people spying on him who are wearing purple trench coats and masks. I didn't know who they were, but they're the inner circle or the dark circle. I forget what the name of them are called. And so like we see them in the present day go to like a vault, like I think like probably Star Labs or something, and you see the severed head of Brainiac. And then it cuts from that, and like I said, it goes to like the farm. And Superman's all like, since you're not adjusting here, why don't you go into the future with me and stuff? So of course she loves it in the 31st century because all the technology is very similar to Krypton. And so she meets like a couple of the Legion. Three of them don't stay there that long. And then, she meets Brainiac. And when she sees Brainiac, she just wants to kill him. And after a huge fight, they let her know that, yo, this is not the one that Superman fought all those years ago. This is Brainiac 5. He's a clone of the original version. And this one is organic and everything, because the original one was organic, turned into a cyborg, and they've been cloning him ever since. And she tells him, you can't trust, like, Brainiac. After this, it slows down. And this is the part that really bored me in the movie because I don't want to see school crap. So they're teaching her and the new recruits how to train. They're teaching them like school stuff. And her and Brainiac are constantly like in a montage kind of thing of them trying to one up each other. He knows he's smarter than her. She thinks she's smarter than him. And then they just constantly like screw things up with like the lab and like this thing they're building, and then everybody has to fight the thing they built because it's trying to destroy everything. And so like because of this they get reprimanded big time because they get in trouble. Now this is the part that's interesting. Timberwolf, who looks like a normal human, seriously, go watch. If you can find the Legion of Superheroes cartoon, go to season 2. That's the best. And Timberwolf looks so much better in that cartoon series than he does in the movie. But he doesn't trust Brainiac, because he said every clone has went evil and tried to kill humanity and everything. So what makes this one any different? And so that is something really, really interesting. And so what's really even more interesting, Brainiac is like spying on them with a listening device. And it's like, can he be trusted? Can he not? So it really sets up making you think he's villainous and everything. Like what exactly is his motives? And so like we also learn that the Legion has been missing and they have lost contact with them. And so basically, after this, like I said, Triplet Girl dies from somebody we don't know. And then so Brainiac gets like blamed for it and stuff like that. But Supergirl doesn't think it's him because she saw those same people that she saw back in the 21st century. So she knows something weird is up. And she doesn't know who they are. Well, at some point in time, Mon-El reveals himself to be evil. And he reveals who his boss is and how he's working for the Circle. And his boss is the original Brainiac. They reconstructed him. The way they reconstructed him is cool. They merged all the clone versions in his body. So you see like their faces sticking out his back and his chest and his arms. And they are bent to his will. Basically, he wants to use, I think, the Miracle Maker machine, I think it's called, to reshape everything and all this blah, 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 blah. So, of course, he wants the Brainiac 5 to merge in his body and all this other crap. They escape. They find the rest of the Legion recruits and everything. And so they have to fight off, all the bad guys. And so it's a kind of interesting fight. A little lackluster, kind of cool and everything. And, she gets stabbed, I think earlier before that, with a kryptonite dagger. And so, Brainiac has to, save her with his tech. Oh, by the way, Mon-El, he is Kryptonian. He's a Dexamite. A Dexamite is an ancestor of Kryptonians that went far, far away many, many centuries ago. And they're not, they're immune to kryptonite. So that's really cool and everything. And so, anyway, so they defeat Brainiac and all this other stuff. Why? Because all the Brainiacs that are inside Brainiac are trying to, take over. They're all like, well, we're smarter than you, and blah, blah, blah. And it's gross, man, in a cool way. They're, trying to, separate themselves from him, and they have their own arms and their own torso, and, all kind of weird, freaky stuff. Anyways, they defeat him and all this other crap, but it's a real touching scene because she's trying to destroy the machine. Excuse me. and she's having a hard time. She can't smash her way through it. So she interfaces with it and she sees the spirit of her dead mom. And she realizes, wait a minute, with this machine, I can go back in time and save my mom. But better yet, I can go back and save all of Krypton. But, with Brainiac, talking in her ear and her realizing it for herself, she shouldn't do that. She shouldn't alter like what has already happened. So with both of them, they destroy the machine. He tells her he can reconstruct it, but they both realize no, they shouldn't. And so the whole thing with the Legion recruits is kind of like, okay, they are the rejects who nobody wants, but then all of a sudden they prove that they can actually hold their own in a fight, and now like they're accepted into the group. And where was the actual Legion? They were millions of light years away and all this other stuff, which Brainiac was able to bring back after he was able to find them and with the wormhole and this and that. And so then it ends with Supergirl talking to Superman about how she loves it there and how she defeated Brainiac and how she has a new boyfriend who's Brainiac 5 and this and that. And only for Batman to be all like, how come you didn't bring her back here to help? And turns out there's a giant crater in like the street. And then here comes this weird thing that like looks like it vaporizes them, but it's like a transporter beam. I believe this might be I can't talk. War World and everything. 'Cause I think that's the next movie that's supposed to come out with like the Justice League and stuff like that. And so hopefully it'll be good. I'm hoping because I really hate the Tomorrowverse. So this movie was good. It was enjoyable, but it was very lackluster in some points. Like I said before, the Legion is underdeveloped. It focuses solely on Supergirl and Brainiac. And that would have been fine if it was just them alone in the movie, but the Legion the Legion just feels crammed into the movie. And even though the villain had like a very like good motive and everything, he just kind of really didn't feel like Brainiac. He didn't sound like Brainiac. He sounds the way he's drawn. That's a good thing. But he just really didn't have that Brainiac-ish type vibe to him. So it was just your standard animated movie that was just kind of like, whatever, you know what I'm saying? But it was good and it was enjoyable. So I won't buy it on DVD, but it was actually something really to check out. And I really enjoy Supergirl's personality in this. She finally started acting like Supergirl again. Because Supergirl is very impulsive and likes to smash stuff. She's not like the one from the CW show. The CW show was just trying to be Clark Kent like ripoff and everything. Because at that time, they could not make a Superman show. So the next best thing they had was Supergirl. And they tried to make her act just like Clark Kent, which she is nothing like him. So it was great to see her at like her element, of being arrogant, like, not listening to people, smashing stuff first, being impulsive. So that is the real Supergirl and everything. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.